What's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 76. He's the broker-owner of Remax Escarpment, and they have been the number one brokerage and real estate association of Hamilton Burlington since 1994. He now partners with Remax Niagara, creating a powerhouse of 10 offices, together boasting over 600 agents. He is constantly working to develop new systems, programs, and technology to take the real estate industry to the next level. He was recognized as Broker of the Year for a multi-office company, and Remax Escarpment is also the proud recipient of the 7-year Consumer Choice Award in Hamilton and the 3-year in Niagara. And passionate about his community, he is the former chair of the Affordable Housing Flagship for 10 years. And this year, his office marks the 25th year of being a contributor to the Children's Miracle Network. A leader, a mentor, and a visionary, it is my pleasure to welcome Conrad Zurini to the Mindshare Podcast today. Conrad, how goes it, my man?
Fantastic, David. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking the time. It's great working with you guys. You guys are doing some awesome stuff there. So it's just nice to be able to have you on the show, and I'm looking forward to some good convo with you today, man.
Well, we enjoyed having you the other day. It was great. It was we had the best feedback on what you did for our company. So we really appreciate that. So awesome, my friend.
Oh, well done. Yeah, that's great to hear. And again, thank you. The confidence is there. And obviously, as you guys know, whatever we can do to help your agents get to that next level, we're here for you. So thank you for the confidence of Mindshare. You're a leader in not only your office, but in your community as well. I'm curious because as I'm reading through your bio and I'm looking at the stuff that you do, you don't just own a real estate office, but you do a whole bunch of other stuff out there. I'm curious. Tell us more about the involvement with the Children's Miracle Network and the work that you've done with the community housing programs within the community.
Sure. The Children's Miracle has been a pet project for Remax for many, many years. I think over 40 years we've had that partnership. And it's been great to be able to invest in our community that way in terms of working with McMaster Children's Hospital. We used to be kind of separated, like our Burlington agents would give to Toronto Children's Hospital. And now in the last couple of years, we've been able to have all those monies flow locally into this community because I think McMaster really does serve Burlington more than the Toronto one does. So we've been happy about that. We've been looking at special projects, working with Children's Miracle and McMaster to look at special projects that would be kind of named, by our company and things like that, sponsored by our company. So we're working on that. It's been a great relationship throughout the years, and we're happy to do that. The affordable piece, I'm a firm believer in the full housing continuum. I did a lot of work with a lot of not-for-profits, and I still do a lot of pro bono work for not-for-profits and things like that. And the best part of that whole opportunity was, and that experience is that I am now building a 218 unit apartment building adjacent to one of my offices. And we have 20% of the units, 46 to be exact, will be affordable. So it's been a dream of mine to be able to do that kind of private public partnerships. And I think that's the way we're going to see more units being built. More affordable units. So that's, because I'm a firm believer in the full housing continuum and helping people along in terms of their housing needs. So it's great to be able to put a shovel in the ground in the next couple of months.
Oh, that's so cool. That. Yeah, that's very cool. And it's funny how you use the word affordable. And I mean, I don't mock the fact that you use it. I say it in a sense where this is what it's come to these days, is that there's so much out there, trying to figure out what people can get into and what is and what is not affordable. I mean, we could say some of the real estate all across the province, or never mind the country, all of it is unaffordable these days for the way, prices have gone, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm curious because with all the success that you guys have as a brokerage, why take the time to get involved in other projects outside of just creating a successful brokerage or continuing to create a successful brokerage?
Well, I just think it's, again, and it's in the rental field, as a matter of fact, which is kind of, it's kind of different than we do sales, right?
Yeah.
We're in the sales business. Well, because like I said, we haven't built enough great stock in the last little while. Most of the apartments were built in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then there was, obviously there was rent controls and things like that stopped building. Only in the last few years, we started to see some purpose-built rental. And I thought that, yeah, there's a need for empty nesters and consumers to kind of move along the continuum. And I think they want to look at tenure. Look, with COVID, again, I think this has just really accelerated it. If people were thinking of downsizing or doing something in the next 2 years, it's really going to accelerate the fact that they're going to think about looking at the rental market. And when you look at keyword searches, great rental is one of those top words that's coming up quite strongly in the last little while, in the last probably, I would say, 2 quarters. So it's really, people are really looking for rental. And then the other piece is that, again, what's happening in long-term care. And I think people are thinking to themselves, I think I have to take control of my own long-term care. And maybe I will have to sell my home and go into a rental and have that nest egg for myself to be able to take care of myself going forward, unless the province does some large measures in terms of working with long-term care and bringing it up to standard. Because I think that's part of the housing continuum as well. I think that's lagged behind over the past couple of years. So I think they got to do something in that area. But now people are going to take control of their own lives in terms of that.
That's an interesting point you bring up too, to think about what's going on, first of all, with the long-term care homes, the old age homes right now, especially with what we're seeing going on right now. The numbers are disappointing for the amount of outbreaks we've had and the amount of problems there's been. But I guess that does get people thinking twice about what they're doing. And then when you talk about rentals, I know last night we saw in the news, they talked about, at least here in Toronto, the rental market, I think they said correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like the 1 bedroom is plummeted down by like 67% or something. And that's just in the moment right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Naturally, that changes when things start to rebound, as they will as we come out of this.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Now, as we as this podcast is very much about helping agents build mind share, market themselves properly, develop successful businesses, you mentioned the word keyword and saying that people are typing in great rental.
Yes.
For everybody listening, one thing that I want to make clear is that when we talk about keywords, as Conrad just mentioned, is that a keyword is not just rental, but it could be great rental, and that could be great rental in Niagara, great rental in Toronto. Mm-hmm. So as you're, creating content, you're putting content out there through, your website, through videos, through podcasts, whatever it be, the more you can use your keywords, and a keyword really ends up being a sentence. The more you can use a keyword and embed that into a lot of the content, the more you can get found. So again, taking something like great rental, instead of just maybe saying, I've got a great rental, you could say, I've got a great rental in Burlington. Yeah. And now you start to put that into your video and you start to put that into the content. And now if you want to talk about just organic search of being able to be found at the top of Google much easier, you want to start using keywords again. And I just thought I'd use that as a learning moment right there.
No, I think it's great.
Kinda,
it's great.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's one of those because, we think so much about keywords in our marketing, and it's, real estate, marketing, rental, for sale, but it's not that. It's more about what is that search criteria. And this works for both Google and YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. Is what is that search that somebody's actually going to type in. Anyhow, again, I thought it was an opportunity to take it.
Well, there, but it's interesting, and going back to the affordability word and what have you, we have an affordability button on our website, and what it does is it actually allows people to put in a number. I want to spend 500,000, and then on a map it'll light up, everywhere, what they can get. So let's say in Burlington they can get a 700-800 square foot condo, let's say, so to speak, or they can get a detached in Hamilton or in Ancaster, a larger detached maybe in Niagara area. So it kind of lights up that way. So it's affordability, and there's 2 buttons. The affordability one, it's a popular button, but the other button is commuter. Okay. And the commuter button is down like something like 69%. No one is looking at that commuting thing anymore, because now they're thinking, maybe I'm going to be working at home. So the commute is not that critical. We're seeing non-commercial addresses being put in the commute. Maybe they're thinking about family and things like that. but the affordability is still quite strong because people want to know, they're trying to see like where does my dollar take me in this whole Niagara region? So that the popularity of the affordability button is up higher, but the commuter one, which is side by side with that, is down significantly. So we're starting to see a trend already how people are doing search. So it's kind of fascinating.
Well, it is very fascinating, in fact. And now you take that and go further with the whole idea around keyword. And now it's not just great rental in Burlington, but it could be great affordable rental in Burlington.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And now we're starting to right. But I mean, this is the thing,
Yeah,
look, one of the big things that is such a misconception in this biz is that, all of my marketing tools I have out there are going to generate a ton of business for me. And don't get me wrong, they're all about marketing. They're all about building mind share, as I call it. But a big part of that is what can I do to drive, eyeballs and ears towards me so that I can then have the opportunity to potentially turn that into business.
of
And so
course.
when we come back to this idea around, search functionality and the way people are searching right now and what they're searching for, leveraging the right keywords, leveraging the stats that you're sharing here, it's
Yeah,
important because this now sets the tone for what is the underlying message or what is the underlying, again, search criteria that I'm going to be going after to try to capture a lot of that. So I think there was a wicked learning moment there.
yeah.
Now, asking you that question around, why get involved in the additional, help in the community.
Mhm.
I get it and I love it. And I guess the question is positioned more of how you lead by example, which again resonates with me so much. But oftentimes when we spend any time doing things that are, call it maybe non-work related,
Mhm.
we don't feel as if we're actually working, if we're actually doing things to drive our business. And many start to wonder like whether they should be investing the time at all. So I'm wondering, like, what do you suggest to your agents, when we talk about being a leader? What are you
Well,
suggesting your agents do? Yeah, like how could they be leaders, and how does it help their bottom line? You see where I'm going with that?
yeah, no, I exactly. So what I've been training for many, many years is what we do is I draw a circle
Yeah.
and I divide it into four pieces. And I say most mediocre real estate agents have maybe four ways to generate leads. One of them goes down, Google changes an algorithm or God bless us, and you lose 25% of your business. So then what I do is I slice it up into 8 sections and I say, most really good agents have, 8 ways to generate leads. And speaking to some of our teams and our really high performing individuals, they may have 14 ways to generate a lead. And they don't care if one grouping does 50 leads and the other one does 5, but it still adds to their bottom line. But one of the main things that I've always done was the whole networking piece, and what I call it is big life. And I think a big life is, you can call it networking or big life, but it's all a part of what makes you up as a human being. And I think being involved in different organizations and things like that is a lead generator for you. But I think you have to do it right, and you got to treat it like, look, number one, you have to go into it not wanting to get business. And I think that's critical. I think that's, people can see right through it, right? That's number one. They can see, and you got to enjoy it and be passionate about it. And I've done some work with the Good Shepherd and different organizations throughout the years, Habitat and things like that, and just really marveled at what they're doing for the community and things like that, and wanted to get involved. And that's why I got involved in the flagship, which was, again, it was a partnership of public and private. And even at my real estate board, we created this, it was called HOPE, and it was called Home Ownership Affordability Project. And we had Scotiabank with down payment assistance. We had a group that taught, it was called, I got to think of the name, but they taught the building and things like that to at-risk youth. And then we had, there was myself, and we also had the home builders involved. And we buy a home and do the renovations with the actual homeowner. And we did several homes, and HOPE is still going on with our board at Hamilton, at RAB, Real Estate Association Hamilton Burlington. We put money into that HOPE, but that was myself and a few people around the table. And I also worked with Options for Homes, which is another group, and that could take us another long story, but they've got a great way of building wealth and helping people own homes and own properties and things like that. It's another not-for-profit. So again, all those experiences and being involved with people, you when you're around a table like that with 25, 30 people and they see your expertise, eventually they're going to lean on you to do something for them personally, or maybe for something for the organization. And that's really when I was active in sales, a lot of my lead generation came from that kind of networking and being involved with people like that. Either I did some work for the organization, and at one point I sold 43 homes for Kiwanis, 43 homes.
Wow.
So again, it was networking, and it was all that kind of thing that got me that contract. And their own individuals. I got my mother-in-law and this, do you mind doing it? That kind of stuff. And it was really a big part of my business. But again, I treated it like it was a business and a system. And again, very much, when I go to an event, I'd have like 5 or 6 books or something like that I'd have in my car. And if I bumped into people that I saw at the event, I'd get their card, get their address, and I made sure after the event, I delivered the book saying, thanks for meeting me, and it was awesome. This is a great book. If you've already read it, pass it on to somebody else that you think might need it. So it was, again, doing all that kind of high touch kind of things all the time. So yeah, and I can trace back a lot of business through my experiences volunteering and stuff like that. Lots.
And, it's interesting because it's, as I think back to some of the coaching that we do with some of the trainings and, there's a time where we ask people for some feedback on specifics around what they do, what they love to do to get business, what they hate doing to get business, et cetera, et cetera. And, naturally you get some of the stuff of like, I don't like cold calling. I don't like, handing out, or door knocking or whatever. I got it. But then there's people that come back, and there's a lot of times where we get answers of people that do not like to take time to give away free value. And, back in the day, we might have called those homeowner seminars, right? But there's a lot of people that don't want to take the time to give away the free value. And much the same when we talk about a leadership position of going out and helping in the community and meeting other people. But again, it's not work related. I'm not making money at that. How do I track that back and say that it's worthwhile? And so we hear this often, but much the same, every time we speak to leaders like yourself and people that are successful, they always track it back to they're just out there networking on a regular basis. And there's the interesting point too, is that as much as we hate giving away the free value and spending the time doing this stuff because we just want to get the deal, everybody on the other side loves to network and loves referrals.
Yeah.
So it's that idea, well, what are you doing when you're networking? You're giving away free value. You're just connecting with people. You're building relationships. Hence going out and helping the community.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's a labor of love, and you do it with your heart in many cases. Look, when I train in Europe, and we were talking about this before the call, and I stand up in front of either agents or brokers or even in my own office, and I say, guys, I'm the laziest guy in the room. The laziest guy in the room. I'm trying to find the shortest way between 2 points that I can possibly do at all times. Okay, because again, so many things are happening, when you own a brokerage and other businesses and doing development and all that kind of stuff. So many things are happening that you really have to compress. Your time is really valuable, right? In terms of, again, being efficient with your time. So going to these events, networking with people, being able to shine, in a small window, and that kind of opportunity led to these other things. And again, that's why I did it, because I'm not a kind of guy that'll do 25,000 phone calls and my percentage will be 1% capture and all. That's not me. It's never has been. So I'm looking at where can I get out there, get exposure, talk to enough people, and then be able to, again, it's the follow-up too. It's not just talking.
I was about to ask that. What's the key to your follow-up then? So you've given a book to somebody. Did you track notes about that and then call them back and, hey, did you get it and all that stuff?
Yeah, okay. And then any charitable event I would go to, right, I would find out who are the organizers. So I'd find out the 5-6 organizers. And after the event, I'd do something similar to that as well, a book or something. Say, hey, listen, you did a great job. There's a lot of effort. I really enjoyed it, what have you. I got nominated for a business award. I sent everybody that got nominated a book. Wow. Okay. And when I went to the event, and I knew nobody at the event, I knew not a single soul. When I went and introduced myself to some of the other people that were nominees, they said, hey, you're the guy that gave me the book.
Now, was this any specific book, or was this just any book that you bought? You bought a bunch of books.
I was going to go in my office and do this I'm in Burlington today because I had to do some work out here. But at my office, I've got quite an extensive library. I'm a book guy. Yeah. And some of my agents think I should have a book club. And basically anything that I train, I usually bring the 5 or 6 sources where I got some of the information, and everybody's really happy about, reading further and getting deeper. Because I do like the background to some of the skills and things that we're teaching. And I don't get, look, I love people in the industry and we get a lot of great ideas, but I really love, and I know yourself, you gather so much information from outside the industry and integrate it into our industry. I think that's critical, right? Because we got an old business here. You know what I mean? Like, it's an old, slow moving business. But I think with what's happening now, we're going to see it really transform.
Now, are you a paperback guy, or are you Audible? Do you like to listen to the books?
No, I'm a book. I like the paper. I like writing. I like writing notes.
How much time do you spend a day reading? Like every day?
Every day. I don't miss. And it's funny because the other day, again, you go through so many phases with this what's going on right now with just everything, the world, and people, and the suffering, and your own agents and everything like that. You go through so many things. The other day I went to my library and I just kind of looked, and there were some books on the shelves, and I just thought, I haven't read this in forever. There's an expression: if you want to get a new idea, read an old book.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we can pull from that can help with what's going on today. And I love it. Half the time I can't remember the authors, half the time, but I got my notes in there, and the whole, like I dog-eared and written all over. And I'm a weirdo, because I do a lot of traveling. Because speaking, you do traveling, and that's my moment.
I wouldn't call it weirdo. I mean, I've been using this sort of this way of explaining it, but it's like, if you're hungry, you go and you eat something, and you feed the belly. Well, much the same. We need to feed the brain, and reading is exactly that, right? I mean, easy numbers, like.
Propping up my thing is this one here. It's called Stealing Fire. It's an old book, and a friend of mine told me to grab it. It's called Stealing Fire. And then the other one I got here is that I've been kind of going back to, and it's older too, and it's called The Invisible Sale.
Okay.
And again, thinking about now that we're going back to that online and stuff like that. But Stealing Fire, there's a great excerpt in it that I love, and it talks about Navy SEALs. About Navy SEALs, and the one line in it is about the hardest thing about being a Navy SEAL is because they're trained, they're assassins, so to speak, right? Like, I guess that's a tough word to use, but sharpshooters and all that kind of stuff. But they're the toughest thing that they have to do is to learn when not to shoot. Okay, yes. And I think that's the thing, right? So we're always about shooting. Like, shoot first, ask questions later. We see a competitor doing something, we jump into it. Like, oh my God, I got to be doing that.
Yeah, right. Why not me? Why not me?
Yeah, exactly. And the 3 words, it's funny because the 3 words that we adopted, during this period of time, and I started right away. It was immediate. And going back to video, the first thing we did when this whole thing was transitioning, and we closed our offices down, and we were one of the first offices to mandate no in-person open houses immediately. It was like the Monday before they shut everything down. And it was funny. I remember like yesterday, I came to this office. It was this office, and I was outside because we had closed the offices. We had made a conscious effort to close our offices before everyone else did. We just thought, we've got to be a part of this solution. And I put on a jacket that I wore for my Christmas party. And I had this plaid, kind of very loud jacket that I wore at my Christmas party. I put it on, got outside, it was raining, and I did this video and saying, you know what, the last time I wore this jacket was at our Christmas party in 2019. And 2020 looked like the year of so much promise, right? And you know what? It's the final chapters haven't been written about this year. And there's going to be so much promise that's going to come out of this, and so much guidance and so much positivity. But at the time I said, 2020 looked like it was full of promise. Now we're kind of halted in our tracks. And this is a symbol to me of what I thought 2020 was really going to be about in 2019. And I thought I'd wear this jacket that I wore. And I haven't worn it since. That was the only time I wore it. Just to kind of recollect what that time was. And now we're going into this new time. And right away with video and broadcasted to everybody. And I came up with 3 words, like our 3 words that to describe this time. And it was very early. It was very early, and it was number one. It was be cautious. Okay, that was be cautious. Be cautious with what you do. Be cautious with what you're posting. We had Katie Lance on the other day, and she mentioned, how is that post going to look like in 6 months and a year? So really be cautious about your decisions. Don't shoot. Think before you shoot, okay, and react, because you can react quickly. Then the other one was be creative, and this is the time to be creative. Step out of your comfort zone and be creative and just kind of do something that you never did. This is the time to do it. And then the third one, obviously, and people have used this a lot, and it's be careful. And that's what we lived by, and we're still living by today. And I thought we needed 3 words to describe the next little while. And I needed to articulate that to people. And that it just came to me that day, and we've been living by that ever since.
I love it, and I think they're great words. And I like what you did with the jacket, kind of bringing it back for that message, almost kind of looking at the paradigm shift that's taken place. But I do agree with you. There, I don't know if the end is in sight. We hope it is. We're kind of all looking for it, but it will be coming. And so and Katie is absolutely amazing, and for what she said there about how is that post going to look in 6 months or a year from now?
Yes.
Be cautious. Be careful.
Be very careful.
Be creative, but be cautious and careful. No, I like that a lot. So I'm curious, and you talk about what your office did and how you guys closed down pretty early. And again, I think that's a big sign of leadership, because I know in the early conversations we were having around the webinars and the big broadcasts we're doing with many different people, it was, should we be doing the open houses? Should we be taking listings? Should the office be closed? And even today, as I talk to brokers across the country and down in the States, is, there's a lot of people that just, they're not sure which way they should be going. They're not sure if they should open back up. Some of them did close down. Some of them did not. Some of them received backlash from agents. Some of them did not. I'm curious, I guess, once you sort of step beyond that, from, an office that's 40 years strong and continuing to grow, what initiatives, COVID or no COVID, I guess, are you focused on now to help drive the ongoing success for your agents?
Well, it was our natural progression. The way I can describe it is, we were this small little brokerage in the east end of Hamilton. We rented a second floor space back 40 years ago. And then we decided to kind of expand. And so we were a real estate company, right? Selling real estate. Then we wanted to expand, and we started to, very fortunate enough to start to acquire our premises and things like that. And actually, in some buildings, we're maybe 10% of the building, and some, we have the whole building. So, and again, some of these sites that we have surplus land, and we're hoping to do some of that multi-unit res and things like that. So we moved from selling real estate to owning our real estate and operating our own real estate. And then it was a natural shift for us that technology was, a big part of this business. And then we wanted to own our own real estate. So we wanted to start to own our own technology. And I bumped into a Hamilton company that was doing work for us, and I was able to be one of their angel investors. And we're one of the investors in this tech company out of Hamilton and Burlington. So basically, we started to build technology, and I wanted to own it. I didn't want to rent it anymore. And I wanted to be able to have turn on a dime, and I wanted to be able to create reports that that I was talking to you about on where is search going, and how can we respond, and how can we quickly respond? Because before, I would take, a whole year of analytics, and by the time we figured out which direction to go,
it's already gone.
Yeah. So we meet on a quarterly basis, and now we've done, deep dive into pre-COVID and post-COVID numbers and things like that. So, and how to improve that whole client experience. So we created a lot of online tools. We created an online pre-list, which we call Real Intro, that kind of now it's morphed into a very robust directory that we use to serve up agents on our various websites. We have one called Real Hoods. It's a neighborhood site. We've got a luxury site, and it actually serves up agents that have in the background of their profile, they put their specialty and things like that, some of their stats and things like that. So we created this online experience. Now, I just had a course yesterday, and I said, use your real intro as a pre-list, okay? And we can actually see what the client is picking and looking at whatever, the little widgets of information and content, so that when you sit down with them at the listing presentation, you'll know exactly what they're looking for and what's important to them. And that's heat mapped, so over time, what people are gravitating to, all kinds of stuff, right?
Cool.
Anyway, so I taught people how to use that to do a virtual listing presentation. And as a matter of fact, it's funny because I've got our numbers here. Our agent profiles, our realtor views, it's about for the first quarter was 10,000. The previous quarter was about 7,000. It's up about 41%. So it's really working, because people now, how are they going to find an agent anymore? They're only going to really find them on virtual. So we built this robust directory that has got a little bit more meat than just I speak, French and Italian, and I had a pretty face that I took back in high school, my high school photo. It's more robust with stats, testimonials, marketing materials, all kinds of things that people can do a deeper dive. So I don't know if it was something that we had, we could never have foreseen what was happening today, but I knew there was going to be a shift for people that were going to do research, much, much more research online. And Google loves us because those profiles are right up there. When you do my name, it's the first thing that comes up is my profile. I use mine as a recruiting tool, and people use theirs as obviously a tool to attract consumers. So again, we're serving them up in our website, so it's more of a warm lead kind of thing, and then people connect, and they're actually picking. Actually, we have buttons on our page that you can say, okay, I'm looking for somebody in Stony Creek that works in Stony Creek. I've got a condo to sell. I'm a first-time seller, and then it does a calculation, an algorithm, and it serves up, a series of agents that work in that area that have that specialty
based on different profiles and stuff.
Yeah, eventually, and we've already got it built already. Eventually, right now, it will be able to go to. It'll look at the agent's digital footprint kind of thing and the consumer's digital footprint, and they'll be able to match the two of them together. So I'm a foodie, I like hockey. This person's a foodie, likes hockey, and then kind of puts us together. And then coupled with be able to look at some of the stats and saying, okay, what are days on market for this person, that kind of thing, and then being able to pinpoint and make that decision. So we built it for that. We also integrated sales on it. So we have the last year of sales from our area. So actual sales. And what happens is people can toggle a switch that will say my sales, like the agent's particular sales, and all that agent's last year of sales will appear in a map. We built that so it's ready for voice. So we built that database of the agent sales. So somebody says, hey, who was the last person that sold on 123 Main Street?
Yeah.
That person will pop up. So we're thinking down how is search going to be done even into the future, and building it today. So we're very fortunate that we've got a great team, and I've got a great team of specialists, even in our company. Our marketing people, our managers, everybody's been putting input in this product, and the Real Intro 2.0 is coming out in the next couple months, and it's going to be quite robust. So, and that's just one of the tools that we've again, we have a virtual office tool as well. We've really looked at technology, keeping in mind, and again, maybe I'll segue into the bricks and mortar. It's the elephant in the room.
You know where
right
I was
now.
going there, right?
It's the elephant in the room. I go, I think who's going to mention it? The part about, bricks and mortar versus this online, people working at home. Are they comfortable? Are they happy working at home right now? Again, we've got a combination of bricks and mortar and technology. How do we pivot? But I will say this, that many people that I talk to, and I call everybody on their birthday and try to get very personal with them, especially now. My birthday calls are probably the highlight of my day, because I get to talk to people a little bit deeper, a little deeper, and they have time for me now, because sometimes I know they're in a showing. You got to be careful when you call a realtor at the time, but now they'll talk, and it's great. And I can see their voices light up, and when I say, guys, I think we're probably looking at in the next 2 weeks, we're probably going to do a soft opening again and bring people back into the office. We've got sanitizers and all kinds of things that we've done with, the visors for in front of the front desk and all that. And we've got the thermometers and all the distance thermometers. We've done all that. So we're looking at a soft opening 2 weeks. Their voices, it goes up an octave.
Everybody gets like really happy, eh?
Yeah, really? I can leave my house.
Well, I was going to ask you, how are the agents managing right now? Are people? I mean, people are obviously, I got to imagine, for the most part, very understanding.
Yeah, it was tough at first. Believe me. But some people, got it. And my sister, we have very stringent, like we do let them have access, but they're asked, every day, they, before they get let in, because we have all finger readers.
Right.
We've turned everybody's finger off, so to speak. But my sister can turn it off on and off on a dime. And again, we've had people, just utilizing their office. I have to get something or some documents or whatever and things like that. So they've been understanding like that. And we've had to make some accommodation in terms of how they compensate us. So we've done some reductions in how they compensate us, for the fact that they're not using their offices and things like that. So I think people get it. They understand why we're doing it. And eventually they know, well, a week before this, everything collapsed, we had all the sanitizers. We had sanitizing stations already put in.
Yeah.
And I had agents posting, oh my God, our company has already got this and we're going. And then next thing you know, a couple days later, we were closed. So, but now we're ready for the comeback. Okay.
Right.
And that's the thing, right?
Interesting. And I love the finger readers, the technology. I mean, look, when we think about 6-7 years ago now, we were going to all the conferences down in the States and basically internationally, a lot of the talk was about big data, right? Taking advantage of technology. What can we use, or the AI? How can we know what people are going to do? And then how can we leverage that stuff? And I'll tell you, I mean, in my world, we call that variable data, right? It's variable pieces of data that we are able to use to then deliver a message back. And I mean, from our angle on things with kits, we've been doing variable data now for 16 years in the real estate space when it comes to utilizing what we know about a particular client to advertise or share information with that client on behalf of the realtor. But now, who is the client? What kind of house type? What kind of ownership type? What kind of relationship do we have together? Are you a potential client, a past client, a friend and family? What language do they speak? Holidays they celebrate? That tells us, and still today tells us, what content goes into that person's newsletter, so that now, on behalf of the agent, it's this very highly personalized letter. Again, the way it speaks, what it speaks about, the pictures that are involved. And this is leveraging data. So I love what you guys are doing with that. And when we take that and kind of look to the elephant in the room and almost go, okay, so we can't get into our offices right now. We're looking to get back there shortly, but we know that things are closed. And I was asking you before, and I want to bring it up again here to what we just said about bricks and mortar is, we look at some of these virtual companies that are available.
Yep.
And that idea of the brick and mortar versus the virtual options, why is the brick and mortar, why is it, why was it, and why will it be or continue to be the more valuable option to an agent?
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to that age-old question: how effective are you at home? In terms of how productive are you at home? I think that has to enter the fold there. But again, we have probably, I would say, in the vicinity of 30 or so percent that work from home anyway. We see that maybe possibly going up a little higher. Some of our staff is thinking about, they like this work at home, and we have the technology to be able to do that. So our transaction staff, some could work at home and some could come into the office. Are we prepared to see some possibly shrinkage maybe? And that's a possibility. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, I was just reading a whole thing on offices, and the people that went into these offices that were the Google-esque kind of office, with all that space and all that kind of stuff in that working environment. And even our tech company, so to speak, we have 2 locations, one in Hamilton, one in Burlington. The Hamilton one is all open. These guys like to kind of close themselves in. Like, we found that, yeah, it's great to have this open space for meeting, but like when I want to get some work done, they all have earphones on. They're trying to close everything out around them.
Turn off the noise a little.
So even these Google-esque offices and things like that, they're saying that office demand will probably increase by about 20% because they don't have the facilities right now to be able to have these closed offices and not do hoteling, that these offices are permanently for that person from a safety standpoint. So that's interesting from the office trend. Now we've got open space, we've got combinations. We've always tried to design space to achieve different things. We have training centers and things like that. But again, we've looked at it in terms of, okay, if we ever had to shrink, and the good news is we own most of our real estate, that we're able to make those decisions. But again, we're going to be cautious with that one.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be cautious. Even some of my staff that we've let back into the office, they are so happy to be back into the office. So I don't know how long lived that whole thing is going to be. I think maybe people are going to say, okay, 3 days I'm in my office and 2 days I'm at home, something along that line. We'll see as a trend, but
I still see the probably the desire and the need. Look, I look at it from a few things. One is, if you're a people person, you want people, right? You want to go out and see people. And I think that's been obviously one of, if not the hardest thing for everybody to deal with right now, is that idea around like, the only way I got people is through this lens, right, in the screen right now. I want to see people. So I think for the people person, it is important. The flip side to that too is, or not the flip side, but maybe in conjunction with that is, a brick and mortar operation versus per se the virtual operation. The brick and mortar gives me the ability to come and sit down with you, close the door, look you in the eye, and have a heart-to-heart conversation with you. And that could be, hey, here's what I'm happy about, or here's what I'm mad about. That could be, here's the problems I'm having. How can you help me? But there's something to be said around doing a conversation like that rather than, hey, Conrad, you want to jump on a Zoom call and I'll talk to you and confide in you from here? I mean, we can do that, but you don't know what's going on, outside of what you see on the screen. And I don't know what's going on in your world. Whereas when we're in a closed office together, it's like, it's just you and me.
Exactly.
And I think that from a TLC, a connection with another human being is always going to be more advantageous to any of us than, again, connecting digitally. And that's just, in my opinion, it's a personal opinion for sure, but I think there's a lot of value to that. And so again, for all the people that are kind of, for the stuff that we're seeing out there where there are virtual options, I would come back and go, you got to ask yourself, am I a people person? Do I need people? And I mean, some people might go, I don't need anybody, but in this business, it is about people, right? So getting out and talking to people is a big deal. So there's going to be a ton of value. And when you look at the leadership you guys provide and the things you're doing outside there, it gives us that opportunity to come at it from two fronts. One, I can be there physically. Two, I can be there virtually. And now I got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're flexible, and the other thing too, is I think this is a huge opportunity. We've done it with our locations. We're trying to make it like community space. So we allow different organizations to use. We have these great boardrooms and training rooms and things like that with a lot of equipment that we open it up to the public. So again, it's having that flexibility type space, being able to, motor around all over. I think, again, with we've got a great region that we work in, and our 10 offices are kind of spaced out within this region. So you can buzz around from one area to the other, feel, we're their neighborhood realtor from Niagara Falls all the way to Burlington. So we've got a neighborhood hub. And I think you need that, and people buzz around, and people are getting more and more mobile, and they still want an anchor somewhere to space. So again, it's this flexibility in the space. Like you and I were talking about the other day, we're talking about the restaurant business. It's not going to be the restaurant with the best food. It's going to be the restaurant that is the safest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that makes that I feel safe going into. It's a very hygienic environment. So I think the same thing with offices is if you've got that piece. If you're located quite well, I think people will come back, because you're right, this interplay that we need. Look, it's very difficult on a Zoom to see people's reaction. I was on one the other day with 80 people, it was like crickets. Like, I'm like, huh? And I'm trying to scroll, like, here, give me a facial expression. Yeah. A lot of them don't want to do it. So, that's the thing too. And again, you can react more, and you know yourself. You're a show person.
I need
You
people,
get the
man.
energy of the other person, right?
Need it. I'll tell you, and for the amount of Zooms that I do, where we don't have everybody on Zoom, so I cannot see the facial expressions from people. I mean, we do our thing. We're pros at this. You know, we know what we're up to,
Yeah,
but it's not like being in a live audience where you can feed off of the crowd and
yeah,
that or whatever, that little noise that comes over the crowd, right? But I mean, as you were saying that, where you go sort of that hub and being split between Hamilton, Berlin, and the area there, and there's always that community sense to be able to go in, and it hit me. It's that thing of I'm driving around and I want to pop in, but at the same time I can pop in from here or I can
yeah,
physically come in. And as
yeah,
much as we know that the world is online, there's still many people that are not always online or don't want to operate all the time online.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let me ask you this then: with everything going on right now, and I want to step out of COVID for a second
Yeah,
and
good,
say,
sure.
what do you see as the biggest challenge that most realtors face in their day-to-day business?
Well, I think
I know it's a loaded one, right? And it could be
no,
very
no, it's
surface level, but it's a very loaded question for sure. It's like, you're talking to a lot of people. What do you what's that thing that people are struggling with?
well, I think it goes to, and there's a couple of things that they struggle. And it's kind of something, and it's very similar to what you were talking about the other day when you got to ask yourself these questions. Okay, and I think this, and no matter what time frame we're in, again, real estate's cyclical. The market goes up and down. There's all kinds of times where absorption rate or months of supply was like 4 or 5 months and whatever, and you got to get used to that. That's just the whole cyclical nature of this. But I think there's a natural tendency for people to they've got to understand and resist what their competitors are doing. I think we especially with social media and everything. You're smiling now, right?
Yeah.
There's this rabbit hole of they want to react. Oh, so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing that. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I think there's this, I think you got to be cautious about that because, some people are better at this, Facebook Live or whatever it might be, or better at the social media and are doing the right kind of content and getting the right kind of engagement. I think not everybody can do that. So I think resisting that, or, we've got billboard wars, you know what I mean? We have the billboard wars in real estate in this area. And I think people look and say, well, I got to get a billboard, right? I think resist that temptation. And I think start to think about, Conrad Inc. and what Conrad Inc. is really, really good at. I think that's number one. And the other thing is you got to ask yourself is, what am I delivering? Is it really solid? Is it really what my various tribes or my tribe is looking for? And am I facilitating their needs? And I love what you're saying about tailor making, because I'm a big proponent of segmenting your sphere of influence, because there's two things that come to that why people work with you. They want to know you're always thinking of them. And if you're not doing tailor-made content, then if it's generic content, it's just not going to work, right? Well, what does this have to do with me? Like, saving a down payment, going to an empty nester, it doesn't mean anything, right? So,
yep.
So that segmented content and what you're talking about, I think it's fantastic. And the other thing is, am I an expert in this industry? And how do I show that? Do I show that I am an expert in this industry? I think every day you have to wake up with that. But again, am I delivering what is solid? Again, is it solid? Is it helping people? Is it not helping people? Am I just looking at what somebody else is doing and just kind of following that? That's the piece that's really important. So you have to ask yourself, am I really fitting the mark for my consumer base and things like that? And look, no matter what happens, and again, I'm glad we're off, we won't say the word, but I'm glad we're off that. But again, the key thing, and I know you're a big proponent of this, and you're a big proponent on relationships. And
yep.
If you're obsessively focused, okay, on supporting your clients, like in everything, in their real estate life and their private life to some degree, and their social life and whatever, if you're obsessed by supporting your clientele, these are bonds that can never be broken. Okay, it's very difficult, and like I know you're smiling because that's you. That's
100%, man. That's exactly it. You can't
These
break
are
that after the
unbreakable
fact,
bonds.
right? Yes.
So number one, don't follow the herd. Number two, am I doing what's right for if I really looked at my sphere of influence and my database and really divided them up into different needs and wants and things like that, and by demographically or what have you, and am I obsessively focused on supporting them and creating systems that support their, I'm a big proponent of enjoyment and equity, the two E's. And that's something that we're all about when it comes to owning a home and home ownership, no matter where you are on the continuum. That's so important to me. So again, those are the things that I think we're faced with. And but the problem is there's so much noise that we're running and not focused on, David Inc., Conrad Inc.,
Right.
And what I bring to the table and expanding that way, right? So
I think that is a phenomenal piece of advice, because I know even I'm in the midst right now of I just started another book today, 25th anniversary edition, See You at the Top by Mr. Zig Ziglar. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Never read it before. Finally diving into it. And it was something that he started. I mean, he starts the whole premise of everything there is exactly that. As if, you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to be helped, then you need to wake up every day figuring out how can you help more people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's very, very in line with what you were just saying there. Figure out, figure out Conrad Inc., David Inc., figure that out, and then figure out how can you be the best version and show people that you are experts, but really break that down as an individual basis. And look, I said it when I posed the question of like, COVID aside, what is the biggest challenge? But I think COVID or no COVID, you just hit it right on the mark. It's building the relationships on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the resiliency, that's where the leadership in this industry comes from, is because you're now focused on you. You're not focused on following. Perfect way to do that too. You're not focused on following. You're focused on leading by example. So instead of, as to the advice you provided, instead of looking at what other people are doing, focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you need to do every day. Focus on what your tribe is looking for out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you will inevitably win more. It's just, it's logic, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And you can expand your tribe.
Well, but that's it,
Yeah.
That's really it. Now we had somebody ask a question. It's similar to something I wanted to ask you about just overall market as we're kind of like tapering off here today.
Yeah.
Are we seeing a rebound? Are we going to have a rebound? I mean, and let me preface that by saying, obviously nobody really knows what's going to happen. But one thing we do know is if we look over the past 100 years of real estate, decade over decade, it is always growing. Yeah. One thing that I say, and I started the webinar the other day by saying this as well, you cannot control what other people do, as we've talked about, and you cannot control the market, but you can control your own success. So again, do we see this market coming back? What kind of time frame? They're talking about recession for a number of years ahead now. Does it even matter? Does it matter what the prices of houses are for the people that are in this business as a career?
No, it doesn't, because most people are buying and selling within this time frame, right? So again, where the price, like if you're selling at this point in time and buying at this point in time, there's nothing. You don't have to wait for the bottom. That's the beauty of real estate. But it's interesting because I'm going on another call right after this, and I'm doing the market update. It's fascinating when you start to. We've had so many. The last couple of years have just been accelerated when we're looking at months of supply and all that kind of stuff. But when you start to look over a 10-year period, wait a minute. April 2020 probably had the lowest days on market that we've seen in the last 10 years. So
it's interesting the way you could totally spin that, eh?
Yeah, like wait a minute, that's something right there. And even the months of supply, it's not terrible. Like, we saw some of these months of supply in 2016. And if I ask agents, was 2016 a really terrible time? And they're going to say no. And we know what happened in our area from, after December 2016 to January 2017. Actually, 2017 January, there was a higher months of supply in January, and then the market took off in February, March, and April. So yeah, like there's no question. Sometimes we're dealing with weather at the beginning of the year. It all depends. Look, my thing is this, and it's simple. We make the market. Agents make the market. And I can guess, like, look, I've been interviewed numerous times, and people say, well, where's the market going to go? and I tell them, guys, don't take the summer off. Don't take the summer off, guys. We got a big summer coming. We had really slow start. January, February was cold. People weren't going out, whatever. It's going to get pushed, okay? Or if we had a tail end, we had a really robust fall, okay? What happens is agents kind of take it easy in January. They got closings, you see, because we're in a 90-day cycle, right? If we have a phenomenal spring, summer dips, and then I say, be around, get some inventory during the summer because
fall.
Some of these agents have been away because the fall is going to start to pick up. Look, it's us. We make the market, and I've heard it, the market's between here and the whole bit. We are the conductor of this whole thing. Even though, you're going to get consumer confidence, what have you. But if we're out communicating with our tribe and stuff like that and saying, look, there's some opportunities here and there, we make the market. The minute we hide under our beds is the problem. And that's what happens with the market.
I love it. So it really doesn't matter what's going on with prices because at the end of the day, there's still a commission to be made. There's still real estate that needs to be bought and sold. There's still people out there that are looking to make these moves. So you can make a decision whether you're going to hide out and just take it easy and, sit by the pool or lament inside the house because of what's going on, or you can continue to drive forward and again, be a leader in what you do.
Mm-hmm. Drive the market. Yeah.
So Absolutely. It really doesn't matter what the market is doing, everybody. Get out there and make something happen. Conrad, any last words or tips or anything that you want to share before we take off today?
I just think, again, I think be honest with yourself. Again, be honest with your strengths that we talked about before. I think that's really critical. Look, we all went through these phases, and I'm everybody's going through different phases. Look, the third phase that we went through was mourning the industry, what was happening with the industry. I think put that behind you. The way we did things in the past, was good for that time, but now we're moving forward. And I think adopting some of these phenomenal new normal best practices going forward is going to what's going to separate that mediocre agent with the one that's going to go further. So I think there's a great opportunity to embrace some of that. And go back and analyze the numbers. We've seen it. We've seen properties on our website getting 2,900 views that had 10-minute virtual showings, and that's what was gravitating people to those. And so again, consumers are looking for that. Again, search is interesting. We're seeing people spending much, much more time on the individual listing than they used to. It used to be flip, 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 and they weren't searching with intention. So start to look at the numbers. You're right. Data is super critical right now. Really look at the numbers. Think before you act. And again, I'm a big A/B tester in terms of online ads and things like that. Really get into that it's inexpensive to do. Monitor it. Don't go on autopilot. Trust me. Don't go on autopilot. If you can't measure it, don't effing do it. That's my advice to everybody. Okay. And it's got to be shareable. Things got to be shareable. And I think that's really critical, and be able to share with multiple tribes and how to grow your business. So think shareability and you'll do fine. Right.
And I like what you say about autopilot. I got a buddy of mine who says, when you set it and forget it, they set it and forget you.
Yes.
Where can people find you?
I buzz around all over the place. Like, what do you mean? All my handles and everything?
Can they, online, if somebody wants to connect with you, ask any questions?
Yeah, online, yeah.
Find out more about the brokerage?
My email's real quick. It's conrad@rmxemail.com. I'm even happy. Look, you can even text me, and I'm not afraid of this. I'll give you my cell phone number, 905-719-3033. If you saw me and you want some feedback or anything like that, and I can help you with stuff, love to. Because again, sharing is the big thing in this business, and we can all make this industry better. And we all got to be collaborative going forward for the next. I think the next phase of this whole real estate industry is going to be a collaborative effort. So we're happy to be there. Mm-hmm.
Last question for you.
Yes.
And this is one that has become new to the show, but it's one that we have fun asking. No. It's a simple one. What made you smile today?
Well, maybe when you actually when the preamble before we started talking, we were talking about that slippery slope about the online and all that, and the minute we had this moment of silence and that elephant in the room, that gave me that was really satisfying. I was who's gonna blink first on that one? And you listen. You're doing some great things, David. I really appreciate it. What you're doing for this industry is amazing. You uplifted a couple hundred of my people the other day in terms of that messaging. Love it. I love what you're doing. It's the right message, and it's some people don't want to hear it, and you're delivering it. And we're not here to make friends, right? we're here to make deals. So I think what you're doing is fantastic. I love your attitude about things, and you're on the mark and bringing in technology and helping bring this industry into this into the new this new era and things like that, and focus on change and pivoting and all that kind of things. I love it. But again, building those tight, strong relationships, I think that's amazing. So kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you.
Well, thank you, man. And I appreciate and I'm very grateful for the relationship we have here. I love being able to just be part of it and help wherever I can. It's been absolutely a pleasure having you on the Mindshare podcast today. I'm glad we were able to make this work out in the time frame that we did. I thank you for the time, and I thank you yourself as well for continuing to be an industry leader. I meet a lot of people in this business over a decade and a half of doing this. There's a lot of great people, but there's a lot of really great people, and I like to consider you definitely one of those people. And you're certainly.
Thank you very much.
So keep doing what you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you. And you too, my friend. Awesome. Well done.
Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the 7 Ways to Communicate ebook to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And if you want to be a part of our private Mindshare community, where we meet twice a month live to share ideas, tips, tricks, and to motivate each other, just click on the group coaching option for a very low cost of only $19 a month. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.